everybody. Welcome back to our weekly live stream, Not My Circus. This is Casey Whitener, and I am candidate for U.S. Senate here in South Carolina. I'm the Libertarian candidate for U.S. Senate here in South Carolina. Today's May 20th, and we are jumping right in today with the Not My Circus conversation. Specifically, I'm using these live streams to talk a little bit about the craziness that happens during the primaries and how the primaries drive some really insane behavior. But what has the campaign been up to? So last week, I attended two different forums held by the NAACP. One was held out in Cheraw, which gave me my first visit ever to Chesterfield County, which was a lot of fun to get to go out there. They had a good turnout, a lot of voters in the a lot of candidates in the Democratic primary. So that was kind of interesting to spend some time with Democrats and listen to their ideas and what they had to say. The format for that one was a little bit different. We each got 2 minutes to introduce ourselves, and then they asked us some specific questions. We got to kind of volunteer and get up and talk about that. And the second forum was out in Rock Hill. It was also held by the NAACP. That one actually had quite a few Republican candidates in it, which was kind of interesting. I got to meet Mark Lynch for the third time. He's running in the Republican primary for U.S. Senate. And there were a couple of others there that I hadn't met before that are also in that Republican primary for the U.S. Senate seat. There's like 7 candidates registered in that primary. So it's a pretty crowded field over there. So that then after that, we went over to Lancaster to the Red Rose Festival, which is not my first time to Lancaster, but was my first time to the Red Rose Festival. And I learned a really interesting fact about the Red Rose Festival, which is that it's held partly to support those retail businesses that usually get a good little pop for retail time in the Black Friday, November, Christmas shopping timeframe. But then here, like 6 months later, there's not as much retail activity. And so the town got together and built out this Red Rose Festival with the idea of boosting some retail behavior midway through the year. So that was kind of interesting. I learned a little about that, bought a t-shirt, bought some really good red velvet cake from a cool local bakery there, which was a lot of fun, and had some great conversations out at the Red Rose Festival in Lancaster County. Like I said, not my first trip out there. I actually got invited to go out there last spring when the Arts Commission purchased some of my books and asked me to be their featured author for one of their events. And so I got to go out there and have a book talk, which was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed being part of that. So Lancaster County, I like you guys. It's fun to be in Lancaster. Let's see what else. So that kind of takes us to the monkeys of the week. This week, it's actually, I don't really want to call him the monkey, but I will put him in the category here. My monkey of the week is Thomas Massie, who I adore. I think he's wonderful. I think he's a budget hawk. He's definitely somebody who thinks that we are spending way too much money in Washington. And he spent a lot of time trying to talk about the national debt and trying to get people to pay attention to it. And he lost his primary in Kentucky, and just a huge loss for all of us, really, because he was standing up against what I would consider to be the shenanigans of what's the right way to put it? A party that is, we'll just go with the shenanigans. We'll just say he was standing up to shenanigans. So anyway, so good on Thomas Massie for putting up a good fight, but the primaries took him down. And now that he's kind of a lame duck, he has the ability to just go crazy and do really anything he wants. So that'll be kind of interesting too, to see what happens here toward the end of the term and whether or not he takes advantage of that freedom. So we'll see. Shout out to Thomas Massie. Can't wait to see what you do next, pal. All right, third piece of the weekly live stream is our campaign stars. So this week, I'd like to recognize Casey Crow. Casey Crow has been my erstwhile companion to multiple festivals and events. He went with us. He went with Charlie and I on the trip where we did the double header to the Poultry Festival and also to the Sundial Festival in Leesville and Barnwell. And then he went to Lancaster with us this past weekend as well. He also is a photographer and took a lot of great photographs and has filmed some B-roll for me and things like that. So I really appreciate that. And I appreciate all your help on Facebook, Casey. So thank you very much. Campaign star shout out to Casey Crow. So I had invited for our guest today, Ryan Hilinski, who is chairperson of Hilinski's Hope, which is a foundation that addresses mental health for student athletes. And I'm going to try to add him here to the stage and see if we've got his things working. I can't see his video, but hopefully it'll come up when he gets here. There he is.
Hello. Hey, Miss Casey. How are we doing? Can you hear me?
Hear you. I'm so glad.
Okay, awesome. I'm glad we got it figured out.
Yes,
thanks for having me
so
on. I appreciate it. No, of course.
I'm so glad you're here. So tell
even though we're a little bit of Clemson in South Carolina and over here,
but there's a little rivalry. That's okay.
No doubt.
I
right.
teach in Carolina. Ma'am. So I'm like a little bit of the house divided. I'm like
awesome.
Internally, I'm a little divided because I teach over there at the Darla Moore School. So
no way. Okay.
As long as the Gamecocks aren't playing Clemson, I will cheer for the Gamecocks. It's just when they play Clemson, I'm like, I can't do it. I can't do it.
Yeah. One thing I learned from coming from California is to not mess around with that rivalry. I learned pretty quickly. Yeah.
No, you're right.
Seriously.
You're right.
For sure.
100%. So introduce yourself for our viewers. Tell people who you are. And you mentioned coming from California. Tell us about how you got here. And then I want to learn a little bit more about Hilinski's Hope.
Yeah. Well, thank you, first of all, for the opportunity. It's awesome. I'm getting to that age where I'm 25. So I'm getting into stocks. I'm getting into politics. I'm watching interest rates. I'm watching mortgage rates and this bill that they're trying to propose and pass and stuff like that. So the work that you guys do is I applaud it. I'm not very political myself. I just wish everybody could be happy and get along, but I know that's not how the world works. But anyways, for everybody that doesn't know who I am, I'm Ryan Hilinski. I'm the youngest of the Hilinski family. 3 brothers, actually, the youngest of 3 brothers. Hilinski's Hope basically came about when my brother Tyler Hilinski passed away by suicide in 2018. He was a quarterback at Washington State. Just one of those happy-go-lucky, just all around, just amazing, like typical, quarterbacks. It's just an awesome dude. Like Tyler was awesome. Like he's just a good soul. Like we loved him. And I mean, it just stinks because we never knew that this would happen. Right. So fast forward to now, 8 years later, and we basically actually 2 weeks after Tyler had passed, we had all huddled up as a Hilinski family, aunts, uncles, my parents, me and Kelly, who's my oldest brother, at a hotel kind of. And we also thought God, when that happened, when we lost Tyler, it opened our eyes and our world to know how many people are affected by depression and mental health daily. Mm-hmm. Especially student athletes is the second leading cause in student athlete deaths to this year. And it's just wild to see those numbers. And so we made a vow basically that day, maybe 2 weeks after Tyler had passed, in his honor to continue his legacy, his story. So he doesn't have to, I guess. My oldest brother uses the quote, they say you die twice, once when you actually die in real life, the second time when somebody says your name for the last time. And so we basically just want to keep Tyler's name going in hopes that it also raises mental health awareness in saying, hey, it's okay to not be okay. We want to eradicate that stigma that surrounds mental health in general, but in particular, we've been doing it in collegiate athletes, in collegiate athletics, in high school athletics. And my parents and I have done an amazing job. They've done an amazing job more so because I played ball for half the time that it was going on, but I still tried to do what I could. Now I'm more hands-on. I'm over in Irmo, actually. I moved back from Chicago, from Northwestern, and I'm over in Irmo. I'm hosting my first camp, which is going to be awesome at River Bluff. So we just really advocate for people and their mental health. And we do these things called Tyler Talks, basically, where we share Tyler's story. And we've done over 400 plus of those talks at high schools, universities, colleges, stuff like that. We have this Student Athlete Mental Health Week I know that we had talked about. And this is our 8th year of doing it. And we have 300 plus Division 1, 2. There, I love it. I made that one. But we have 300 plus, Division 1, 2, 3 collegiate, D1, D2, whatever school we may have schools participating, 90,000 plus student athletes reached, 300 million impressions on social media. Of course, that's the name of the game, but that's a dangerous road. I don't really like it that much, but it's good to spread a good message if you get the right audience, for sure. But we're tackling it one day at a time, and we've done an amazing job so far. We've had amazing help along the way, for sure, but it's really just been my parents and me. And to know that my mom has worked her butt off to keep it going this long, to know that, maybe one conversation that we have or post about may save somebody's life, that makes it worth it.
Sure,
And
absolutely.
I think it's becoming more of a, I guess, needed subject, be needing talked about, needing advocacy, because it's just getting worse and worse. I feel like, especially with this new NIL rule in college, that money is
Mhm.
going to get to a lot of kids' heads and pressure and stuff like
Yep.
that. And I just feel like everybody's got a cross to carry, and like even Jesus needed help carrying his cross, kind of, So I feel like
Mhm.
everybody can need help carrying whatever that weight is, that you need help carrying. So thanks for letting me share that, though.
Yeah, look, so I first became aware of Hilinski's Hope when we saw a college game day about
Okay.
Tyler and
Yeah.
about what you guys had done, and was just floored by it because you played football at Carolina, and
Yes,
so
ma'am.
talk a little bit about how you came, how you transferred to Carolina,
Yeah.
and how you
Skipped
became
over
part of the
that
Gamecock
part.
family.
Yeah, really, I mean, going back to when Tyler had passed, looking at that decision, I had 30, and I hate talking about myself in this way. This is no talking, but I had 35 scholarship offers, and I could have picked anywhere really to go. But we were at a lighthouse in Hawaii. Actually, it's actually this lighthouse. It's a tattoo on my wrist. My
Nice.
brother has the same one, actually, and I was there actually, and I remember calling Muschamp and committing at the spot because my parents didn't want to be around the same, environments that Tyler was around in the Pac-12 and in California.
Sure.
And basically, what happened actually was soon after Tyler had passed, like maybe a month or two after, like my recruiting started to ramp up, and so we did this thing called an SEC road trip. We literally visited Ole Miss, Tennessee, um, you name every SEC, Alabama. We visited every
Right.
single one, basically tried on the uniform and everything like that. And then something about South Carolina when we came here, I don't know what it was. I mean, it was the people. That's what we fell in love with, was the people of South Carolina, and like just how amazing they really are, through in and through. Like I remember when we first moved in down here at our house, our neighbors brought over I want to say this right, a pecan pie. Did I say it? Is that right?
It's a pecan pie.
Oh, pecan. I knew I would get it wrong. Anyways, I just remember falling in love with this place and how comfortable and amazingly like whole they can make us feel, as whole as we could be at that time, especially my
Sure.
parents and my oldest brother. It just kind of felt like a family that we needed. And that was an easy sell for me. I wish I never left. Trust me, I wish I never left. This place is literally amazing. And I'm glad to be
And you're back
back here.
now, but you're back. You're
Yes,
back in
yes, yes.
Irmo.
No, I'm
And
back. I'm
so
back in Irmo. So
the
yes, ma'am.
second time you guys got on my radar, the second time was we were looking at South Carolina podcast, obviously, to reach out
Yeah.
to for the campaign. And
Hmm.
somebody had brought up Hilinski's Hope. And I was like, oh, you guys have a
Yeah.
podcast. So I'm working with Jess and the team out of Indiana. We're going to put together a
Oh,
podcast
awesome.
episode as far as
Sick.
that's concerned. But
Heck yeah.
I immediately was like, wait, Ryan's available. Like we gotta
Yeah.
have a
No,
conversation with
I'm
Ryan.
trying to become more, I guess, hands-on and help my parents out, because they've done a lot of work just by themselves for a
Yeah.
long time. And one,
Yeah.
it's emotionally draining, obviously, for them.
Mhm.
And at this age, that I mean, I was expecting, I mean, we're gonna figure it out one way or another, but I was trying to get to the league and get God blessed me enough to get some NIL money where I could help them. But at this point, it's my turn to kind of help them and advocate for Tyler and kind of
Sure.
get my oldest brother along. So I appreciate you even just reaching out and giving the opportunity. But you're gonna love Jess. He's awesome, and that team they're great. So
No,
I
they're
mean,
super cool.
yeah,
So I'm
it'll
looking
be
forward to
good.
getting to be on their podcast and then glad to have you here to talk a little bit about South Carolina. And there's a couple of things that kind of I feel like lined up immediately with your story and kind of what we're doing as far as the campaign is concerned.
Yeah,
The first is I told my dad over the weekend, South Carolina is the biggest small town you'll ever be in,
right,
meaning that like everybody knows everybody. I mean,
right.
it doesn't take long for you to be like, wait a second, I went to third grade with that
They're
guy.
connected somehow, right?
That's
Yeah,
exactly,
exactly. I've
exactly. And
realized that.
if you don't know them, somebody that you know knows them. We're like the six
Yes,
degrees
ma'am.
of Kevin Bacon in
Exactly.
South Carolina. Everybody's like that. So
Exactly.
I think that's great. And I love that your neighbors made y'all feel so welcome. And when you said
Oh
that you
yeah,
felt like this was the family y'all needed and you were looking forward to being back here, I think that's wonderful. The second
yeah,
thing is like I'm very much focused on our community organizations that come together to address big problems and solve those problems, even when those problems are sort of niche or under the radar. And in this case, when you're talking about mental health for student athletes, that really affects a lot of our young people in South Carolina, even and this is like not even just scholarship athletes, but a lot of times our athletes that are participating in, they are school and their practice, and there's this future that's sort of nebulous. Are they going to play professional? Are they going to go follow a career in a different path? Like there's a lot of more pressure on our student athletes at that collegiate level, I think, than people recognize. And it's certainly on the 100%. Big screen, like an SEC major sport, basketball, football, things like that, it can get overwhelming. So I just love the work that you guys are doing. And I think being here in South Carolina, where you've got so much access to all of our student athletes too, you're just doing great work, and the community needs that. We need
you're 100. I really do appreciate you saying, of course, all of those things. It is very true. As soon as I came back, I actually did insurance sales for 6 months. I got a great opportunity with some awesome people. Just turned out it wasn't for me, but the amount of people I got to meet at small businesses that either one had Hilinski's Hope wristbands on already, or two recognized the Hilinski's Hope wristband, or recognized even myself. Like, I don't think highly of that's just how athletes are. You don't, because you want to keep getting better and better and better, I think.
Sure.
I think that's how most people may be, but I just never thought that could be possible. And to get that, it's just an amazing feeling for sure. And I think you're hit it right on the head. Like that identity crisis of separating yourself away from your sport. I mean, that's that's what I've been dealing with for the past year, and I'm finally coming out of it. But all of that love, that affection, that, hey, you're the best, you're amazing, it goes silent. As soon as you're done playing, it goes complete, except your family, like my parents and my brother, but like,
sure,
XYZ friend or XYZ coach or whoever it may be, gone out of your life because it's just different directions. That's okay. And my faith has helped me a lot with that, to be honest. And of course, the people here have. So thank you for saying that. I think it's super important too.
Yeah, I mean, and all of us have our own journey to be on.
Right.
And then I would say the third piece, the connection that I felt really strongly toward you guys and toward Tyler's story. Both of my novels are about a young man whose best friend dies by suicide, and the novel is focused on the guy who's left behind, and that grief and how all of that transpires and how we work through all of that. And so for a good
I'm gonna have
bit
to
of
give that a read. I did see that beforehand.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna have to give that a read.
I've been very, very lucky. That has not been my personal story, but for the folks that I've worked with and people who've come to me about the book and been like, man, that was just really, I felt like seen when I was, with these characters and all that sort of thing. And so we have suicide prevention is the thing for me and my family. That's we walk in the walk every fall. Like that is a huge cause for me, and something, it's just that unnecessary outcome, that permanent solution to temporary problems that we really want to be able to try to intervene as quickly as we can. And that mental health battle is really important to me. So personally, thank you, Ryan, for doing the work. And if there's ever anything I can do for Hilinski's Hope, please, by all means, let me know, because I just think you guys are doing really, really good work.
No, thank you very much. Likewise, too. If we could ever do anything, let us know. We'll be right there to help out in any way we can. So thank you.
I appreciate it. Welcome home, and welcome back to Irmo. And we'll be in touch soon.
Sounds good, Miss Casey. Thank you.
We'll see you. Bye, Ryan.
Bye now.
I'm so excited to have this connection now with Hilinski's Hope, and specifically with Ryan Hilinski, a young man right here in Irmo and building a career for himself by helping his family's foundation, his parents who relocated here and found their home in South Carolina. And thank you to the residents of Irmo for treating them like family from the minute they got here. I just think that's wonderful. And it speaks to the character of South Carolina and who we are and really what we're all about. So I just am super, super pleased to be connected with them in any way, quite frankly, and just very flattered that Ryan gave me some of his time. So, all right. So as usual on our Not My Circus, we have a big conversation to get to. And the last few episodes have been kind of eaten up with this redistricting conversation. And so I don't want to dive into that necessarily. I spent some time on the radio this morning subbing for Chris Wooten on the Rep and got a chance to talk all through what's going on with redistricting in South Carolina. So I don't want to dive too deeply into that. What I'd like to do instead is sort of turn your attention to a blog that I wrote a little bit a while ago called Don't Just Get Back in Line. We Outnumber the Oppressors. And it starts out with this story from A Bug's Life. If you've seen A Bug's Life, if you've seen the Pixar movie A Bug's Life, then you know what I'm talking about. I'm going to throw this into the chat here so you guys can see the link to the blog. But anyway, in A Bug's Life, you've got these ants, and at some point, the ants are in line, and this leaf falls, and it disrupts the line. And one of the older ants says, "Well, just get back in line. Come back around the leaf and get back in line." And the idea there is for me to try to inspire our South Carolina voters. You don't have to just get back in line. We as unique, independent people have a right to go and try to find the best possible solution for the challenges that our state is facing. And right now, there's a tremendous amount of pressure to conform to the one side or to the other, to play for the one team or the other. We're watching some of that pressure, build up almost to a boiling point. We're watching some of our state legislators feel a lot of that national level pressure to conform and to stay with the party line. And I really want to encourage folks to consider how South Carolina and how you as an individual voter can make a difference in your community, and how you can make a difference in these elections by really considering the opportunities and the options in front of you to not just conform to what is happening. We can see, so in the blog, you'll see some of these numbers. Independents in South Carolina make up 44% of our voting population. So the Republicans and the Democrats have a minority in our state. Republicans are 28%, Democrats are 27%. So the independents actually outnumber. We actually outnumber these major parties. And the key is we need to know it. We need to know that the independents in this state can actually choose something different. If you're sick of the partisanship, if you're sick of them doing what's best for the national party, not what's best for their constituents, not what's best for their state, then it's time to say, hey, look, I'm done with those things, and I'm going to go and find an independent candidate instead. And that's really what this blog is all about. Like I said, I put the link in the comments so that you can get to it. And I really would encourage you to take a look at it and read it. It was one of the earliest things I wrote for the campaign. And the idea behind it is just to say, look, if you trust your government to do things for you, then when it stops doing things for you, you'll be left without. And that was back when the SNAP benefits were pulled away because the government had shut down. That's really what was happening there. And the first step for us as a community, as a state, to assert our independence, especially here in the 250th year, our 250th anniversary, is to remember that independent voters outnumber those major party registered voters. And if we all come together behind an independent voice, we can win. I'm really serious about this. We can win. And I would like to volunteer to be your independent voice. So I am a libertarian. I am supported by the South Carolina Libertarian Party. The reason that of course, I align with the Libertarian Party. I do believe in the principles of the Libertarian Party. I'm not in any way to disavow them. That is ballot access for me, which is wonderful. And I have a great support network in the Libertarian Party. But the Libertarians don't have any power in Congress in terms of we don't have any other representatives in the Senate, in the US Senate, or in the House of Representatives. Now, maybe that'll change in 2026. We can always elect some more libertarians. There are some running for the House of Representatives here in South Carolina. You've met a few of them on my live streams before. So yes, we could send more libertarians to Congress, but for the most part, we're a party, a national party that doesn't carry a lot of, and we're not influenced by corporate money, by political action committees, things like that. And so that creates for me the opportunity as your senator to be somebody who just does what's best for South Carolina. So anyway, so that's what the blog is all about. It's called Don't Just Get Back in Line. We outnumber them, and we do. 44% of South Carolinians are independent, and that means we are more than the Republicans, and we are more than the Democrats. And so we really can do this if we decide to all get behind a candidate that would truly be independent and take South Carolina as independent onto our national stage. Okay. So that's the blog for the week. Big conversation for the week. Hopefully an inspiring conversation for the week. Believe in what we're trying to do here, folks. And now for our digital people, what do I need from you guys? Likes, shares, as always. We didn't have a lot of people live on the stream last week, but we had a ton of shares after the fact, which was really great. And so I know there are people that are at church on Wednesday nights. I know it's not necessarily the best time for everybody to watch it totally live, but if you get a chance to share it on your Facebook, share it on your Instagram, share it on YouTube, I would love that. If you want to comment on these places too, that also kind of bumps it up in the algorithm. So all of you digital friends, go out there and share these things, the blogs, the live streams, pushing them out to anybody that you can. I'm really grateful for that. And of course, on the website, CaseySouthCarolina.com. I'll throw that up on the page here, CaseySouthCarolina.com. If you go over there, you can register to volunteer for the campaign, and you can also get on the email list. So those are the things. That's sort of the go-tos for this week, is to say, digital people, let's start exponentially growing the campaign. One more time, thank you to Ryan Hilinski and Hilinski's Hope. Let me throw this flyer back up there so you can see what they're doing. They're working with the mental health for student athletes. It's just a really great cause and an opportunity for you guys to get involved if you want to. I'll share their website with you again as well. Where did they go? Hilinski's Hope. Check them out, and just know that we've got some good people in this state working on some really big problems, and I'm one of them, as well as the rest of my campaign. So we're headed off to Michigan first thing tomorrow morning, like 4 a.m. We're headed to Michigan tomorrow for the Libertarian National Convention. So next Wednesday, I'll be reporting on how that went. You can bet that the monkeys of the week next week will come right out of the Libertarian Party, not because I don't love them, but because there's always shenanigans at the national conference. So that's it. That's all I've got for you guys tonight. Thank you so much for being part of the live stream. Thank you so much for sharing it with friends, for being part of the campaign. And I'll be back next week, because even though we're in the primary season right now, it's not my circus. See you soon.